Oh, that's.
All right. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome back, Alex. Again, you couldn't be a regular
Third time's
here.
the charm.
Third
Actually,
time.
no, it's like your fourth time.
That's what I said. So we're gonna do AVP, or better known. Well, it's Alien vs Predator, better known as AVP. And I promise it's gonna be the last Predator for one.
I didn't hear anyone complaining.
No, I know. You wouldn't, because this is only one way for most. So
Exactly, that's the point.
So anyway, we're going to talk about 2007, four. 2004. Alien vs Predator. But before we get to that, I bet you there's news.
There's news. Got a little bit of news. Got a little tiny tidbit of news. Guys, I am devastated to have to announce the holosuite has gone dark. James Darren has passed at the age of 88. He died of heart failure in his sleep at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in LA. He'd been in for to check out his aortic valve, and there was something wrong, and the doctors deemed him too fragile for surgery. We all know him best as Vic Fontaine from Deep Space Nine. But I mean, the man's career, go look at his IMDb, is unreal. He started with shows like Gidget, Donna Reed, The Guns of Neverone, Black Sheep Squadron, stuff like that. And then went on to direct stuff like he was on TJ Hooker, and he directed stuff like Melrose Place and those kind of shows. Unbelievable. And he will be missed.
Yeah, he was great as Vic Fontaine. Was it
Vic Fontaine?
Fontaine, right? So yeah, he was a great character on that show. It was one I know. At one time we had talked about getting him up at the tour.
We had last year. James went so far as to have him
even
send out
inquiries. Farther back than that, I think we had talked about hoping maybe he would do a show, because he was a good singer.
They had it all planned out. He was going to sing. We were going to have like a not cabaret. I guess cabaret. What do you call what he does? We're going to have a cabaret. Night. Yeah. Cabaret night. He was going to sing. James was going to sing. I think that was a horrible missed opportunity, and now the chance is gone.
Yeah, the chance is obviously gone. So
I will move on with the news. DragonCon was this past week, and here's a little roundup of the weird little tidbits coming out of there. In the MCU, it's reported we'll see Moon Knight. That's Oscar Isaac's back in Avengers: Secret War. We'll see Tony Stark's daughter, Morgan Stark, all grown up. Ahsoka season 2 will start filming summer of 2025, so it's going to be a wait for that. Rumors are that Disney wants to reboot John Carter of Mars. Okay, sure, knock yourselves out, I guess. I mean, it was so horrible. The only way they can go is up, right?
You would think.
Yeah, I don't know where that was. We never did that one, but
no, we didn't.
It should have worked, and it didn't. It's just like, why didn't this work?
No.
So, anyway.
Other rumors coming out of DragonCon, the new Jurassic Park movie has been officially titled Jurassic World Rebirth. It stars Scarlett Johansson. Okay, whatever. And finally, the big thing coming out of DragonCon was Manny Jacinto. His quote was that the second season of Acolyte is now one of his life goals. Not exactly. Why it's going around is that I'm not exactly sure. He was just asked a generic question. He was on a panel and he was asked a generic question about what are your future projects? And he did answer that he wanted to see a second season of Acolyte, but he never said it's my life's goal to see a second season of Acolyte. So, okay, whatever. I mean,
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to see it. I don't think Disney's going to gamble another $180 million.
They'll ask to see the entire seasons.
Somebody put it in perspective. I think the first Force Awakens cost less than that to make.
Wow.
Oh,
Well, that's
that's
what
what
I mean.
it
This was 4 hours of.
Yeah, they really where did $180 million go? Because it didn't go into the writing.
It didn't go into the writing. Yeah.
So anyway,
All right,
yeah.
all right. Finally tonight, just a little tidbit because we're talking Alien versus Predator. Some of the folks who saw Alien Romulus just this past couple weekends in theaters, certain theaters around the nation, were treated to an early sneak peek at Alien Earth teaser trailer. It's the new show coming out on Hulu. The tagline is "The Perfect Planet for the Perfect Organism." Alien Earth is coming in 2025, only on Hulu. I want to talk about this tonight. And the reason, I'm going to drop a link in the chat that has the trailer if any of you guys are interested. I feel like this movie is going to nullify everything. I mean, this TV show is going to nullify everything in this movie that we're talking about tonight. We're going to talk about tonight about canon and whether or not this film is canon. And is this show that everyone kept telling me, no, it's not canon. And is this show an attempt to create new canon? So we will hit that tonight after the jump. But first, Rizzo, what are we drinking tonight?
We're drinking. I thought I'd go a little different. So it's polar ice because this obviously takes place
Because we're in the
Antarctica. Polar ice
Good
margarita.
choice.
So aquafaba is actually a kind of a bean. It's just there in case everyone's wondering where you can Google exactly what it is, but it's there to just make the drink foamy. So it's the equivalent of what you'd put like egg white in the drink. You shake it up to get the foam. It has, so you can easily just eliminate that from the drink and it wouldn't change the taste.
That's interesting.
So the lemon juice, a mint simple syrup which you could make easily enough. Your blue curacao, and of course tequila. And always don't go with cheap tequila because bad tequila.
Do you have any name brand recommendations, Rizzo?
Well, I'm not a tequila drinker, so just stay. The bottom. Jose Cuervo, yeah, I mean, there's good tequila out there. That I'm not a tequila person, so I'm not one to recommend tequila. I'll ask my daughter. Apparently, she is.
Okay, like she likes margaritas, or she just likes straight tequila?
Both, I think.
Oh, good on you, Sam. Good girl. All right.
Yeah. Raised her right or wrong. I'm not sure. So anyway,
hi Bill. Hi Robin. Sue is here.
Yeah,
Chris LaRoche
Jerry
is here.
there. Jerry said he
is
was
here.
at Dragon Con. So.
Jerry said he was at Dragon Con.
Yeah, I've never been. That's the one in Atlanta. It's Atlanta.
I would love to go to that one. They say it's
that's a big one. Yep. So, all right. So getting into it.
Actually, getting into canon about this film, Jerry had a good comment saying, I've often thought of the Alien movies and the Predator movies as being two separate canons with xenomorphs existing in the Predator universe. I think that's a very good point. I think that's a great way to look at it, considering it is confirmed as not canon with Alien and Aliens.
Yeah, they've said it's not canon.
Well, I mean, it's that multiverse that we love to just fall back on. Is anything that doesn't match up with anything else. So we'll call it a
canon
multiverse.
on the Predator side?
Sorry?
Is it canon on the Predator side?
That's the thing. I haven't seen anything for or against it as far as the writers go. So I like to think of it as canon, just as a separate tribe of predators than what we're used to.
Tribe. They came from a different continent on their planet.
Yeah, well, clearly it's almost like, I think like Robin just said, it's kind of created its own IP by itself. Like, it's like these two combined things, and now it's kind of this one. And it really, the thing about this movie is, well, it came from a comic book, but the comic book really came from nerdguments, what we like to call. It's the what if, who is stronger, Batman or whatever, or it's those stupid arguments that nerds always have about who would win this fight or that fight. And this was typical, who would win, the Predator or the Xenomorph. And although it does seem, from what I've seen so far, that the Predator always seems to have the edge.
He does.
Because he's got the weapons.
He does. He's got the nuke. Well, it's not a nuke, whatever the heck it is.
And you would have think that their armor would have been acid-proof by this point.
You would think.
You would think. But then where would all the tension come from?
I guess. So, but other than that, I mean, the movie it's a kind of a fun movie. Don't take it too seriously. I mean, you shouldn't take any of these movies too seriously.
Martin, I'm surprised you're here tonight. I thought you were on your way to London.
Who's
Okay,
that?
keep talking. Martin.
Oh, right, because
Martin
that's the big. It's this
Everyone's
coming
going to
weekend,
the
right?
big.
Is this coming weekend is Space 1999
Yeah.
Anniversary? Yeah. So that's why I kind of look at it. It's kind of this fun movie that it kind of maybe answers the question that the nerds have been asking: who would win the fight? And it was kind of a draw when you really come down to it, because the alien got the last laugh at the end. Spoiler alert.
So you mean the chest burster?
Yeah, because he's now infected the whole ship, which leads you to the next movie.
Which is another kind of canon or at least continuity issue. Like, the chest bursters and the humans that I know of didn't have human DNA, or did they? And I missed that part.
Well, I mean, if we didn't we didn't really know that there was any mixing of DNA until Prometheus, really.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
We-
another question I have. Did
The
Prometheus
engineers
completely
basically
undo
engineered
everything?
everything. So yes, we all, by that standard, we all share because the engineers made everybody.
Suppose.
Even
But when
humans.
at the end of AVP, when the chest burster comes out and it has little
Right, it looks like
predator,
the Predator, yeah.
Yautja
Mandibles.
mandibles. Thank you.
Right, I agree, and I thought that was kind of like, well, wait a minute, it was just my impression of Aliens was that they just used the host body as an incubator, and there was no really mixing of DNA.
Same.
AVP has shown we've seen since Alien 3 that they take on some part of their host. In Alien 3, we had the runner, we had the xenomorph with 4 equal legs. Robin knows more about that. I'm sure she'll say something in the
I have
comments.
to defer to you on that one because I have not seen Alien 3 in probably, when did that come out?
90 something.
Early 90s. So yeah.
Yeah, 90 something.
Yeah.
Bad, and I didn't rewatch it.
That is fair, but every xenomorph that we've seen has taken on some sort of its host. In the original xenomorphs, you can see sort of the beginnings of the human skull by the eyes in the xenomorph. In the third one, you see it take on more of the dog or the cow, depending on which version you saw. For some reason, they released 2 different versions. But either way, it was a 4-legged animal, and the xenomorph came out looking different. Same thing happened in Prometheus. We got the Deacon, which was like engineer and human and xenomorph. And it was also from the black goo, the distilled. Anyway, the xenomorphs that we do see, they all kind of take on some sort of part of their host.
Interesting.
Okay. Like I said, I'll defer because that was never my initial impression, but
Not mine either. But
I guess once Prometheus kind of definitely implied that there's all kinds of mixing, and that it could mix because it was all built from the same basic building block.
Well, I mean, even with Resurrection, we also had the queen alien that birthed something instead of hatching it, being the first humanoid that we see in the universe. So every birth seems to be a little bit different. Or hatching.
The way the writers wanted it to be.
So that is the question, though. Did Prometheus completely undo any lore that this movie established?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not really, because they're implying that the Predators brought the xenomorph to Earth.
That was what I understood.
For a reason to hunt and set it up so that it would be a very controlled environment. There is the one flashback scene where you see them swarming in Mexico or wherever it's supposed to be, and then they explode. They do their little thermonuclear or whatever the heck it was explosion that wipes them all out. So that's why there's none on Earth running. Basically, they would have taken over the Earth by this point.
And keep in mind that this movie was never trying to say that this was the origin of the xenomorph. This was just one sort of chapter between the Yautja and the xenomorphs existing. So the way it seems like the Yautja found a xenomorph and found a queen and was able to subdue it enough to bring it into this sort of blooding ritual they seem to have, the coming of age ritual.
At least the Predators, I mean, the Predators make sense. The Xenomorphs still have the weirdest life cycle, like the weirdest creation cycle I've ever seen in an alien.
It's not very efficient.
Probably not very efficient. A lot of places where things could go
I mean, there
wrong.
are a lot of animals in nature that use other animals as
Sure,
incubators.
yes, that's
Yeah.
true.
That
And
is
have
true.
cocoons and change
So-
into
so
other
Doc
things.
Alexander is kind of debunking your DNA. So
It doesn't make sense for the transfer of DNA since the chest burster had already developed.
before
What do the face huggers put in you? Like, is it
That's
a
the thing, is
fully
it an
formed
egg?
thing,
Is it
or is
like
it an
a- yeah,
embryo
that's-
type thing
that's
that's still
the-
developed?
we don't know what's going on there in whatever it puts into the person. We don't know.
Too big a leap in genetic. Well, don't stop bringing science and sensibility into this. Doc. We're trying to have
Yeah,
fun
that
here.
doesn't belong here.
Science
We're
fiction.
trying to
I'm
just do something
I'm just
fun.
saying it's an alternate view.
I will say though, since I've gotten into this fandom, I've realized that one of the biggest complaints about AVP was the gestation times for the face hugger and the fact that the face hugger and the blonde. Okay, Michael, stop.
But they needed it for the movie to happen. I mean, we can't sit around and wait for chest
I know, but
bursters.
that's the first thing I noticed too. I'm like, wait a minute, the incubation period is
And then-
way too fast.
They kept
Okay,
that
but
fast
hang on.
incubation.
How many-
in future movies.
If you think about it, how many face hugger to chest bursters have we actually seen? We've
Just
actually
one
only
bucket.
seen like 3 or 4 of them in the whole franchise. So give me
Well-
3 human women who had the exact same birthing experience with their children. Give me 1 woman who has 2 similar births.
Well, show me one woman that went
It's all roughly the same.
that birthed in 3 months or a week or 3. You know,
Yeah, you don't go from having 9
they're
months
all pretty much
gestation
roughly
to
the
like
9 months.
6 month or 3
You know,
months
there's
gestation.
there's certainly a few weeks, or even months sometimes, but for the most part, it's months. Nobody's.
He was up and asking for a hamburger. He was up and asking for food. What's his bucket back in the original?
He was doing the dance. Hello, my baby.
Well, he was at dinner, yeah. But like that's what I mean though, like we don't get a very specific timeline as to when that happens in the original Alien. We also don't get a very specific timeline in Alien 3 when we see the next one happen.
There's at least so in Alien from when what's his name the guy the first face hugger that we ever
And I
seen.
can't think of his, let me look up his name real quick.
John Hurt is the guy.
John Hurt.
Yeah, John Hurt, yeah.
So they had to get him from there back to the ship. They had him in the operating room for a while. So there's at least hours, I would think, in the incubation period. And then he was like fine. The thing left him, and he was sitting there, and then he was eating, and then kapoof. Oh no, not again. That was the best part of Spaceballs by bar none. And so yeah, so I don't know. I know what you're saying, Alex. We haven't seen a lot. It could be faster. I think we also kind of thought that it takes a few hours. I think we saw it in Aliens. That the people that did get impregnated, it took a while. They were just kind of sitting there waiting.
Well, that could have been the first wave of colonists that were killed. We don't actually get a timeline as to when the havoc had started with the xenomorphs. Like, what was it, a 3rd or 4th or 5th wave survivor that actually got to a radio and was able to put communication out there? We don't really know how long those colonists have been in that nest for them to have had their chest bursters come out. It could have been any length of time. It could have been people that were hiding like Newt, but weren't quite as fast or weren't quite as small, got caught late. We don't really know.
Regardless of what it is, it's clearly just, as Mary Beth said, we needed to move things along.
Also that, yes. The plot armor is thick.
I needed the movie to happen.
I think it's
This
funny, though,
movie,
that,
because think about it, you guys. This movie's already slow. There's a lot of movie before we even get to seeing either aliens or predators doing anything.
There's a lot of run up.
35 minutes.
A lot of Antarctica and
one thing I
boats
do.
and people
A lot of
giving
these
speeches
movies-
like, "Don't go anywhere alone. Always have a partner." Cut
Yeah.
to someone being alone somewhere. Like
Right. Of
there's
course,
a lot
of
of
course,
that has to happen
the fact
first.
that the ziggurat is
And
designed to
penguins.
move and change and separate people and make it harder to move around. The
And
whole
laser
thing was built.
holes.
The whole thing was built as a maze.
Which why
on
didn't they
purpose.
just like slide a sled down the hole? Why were they climbing down the hole? Wasn't the hole miles? Like they were gonna walk miles down that hole?
I just want to know. I thought it was funny that they had the forethought to have the rocket sled there, so that they
Yeah, they had the rocket sled to get out.
Halfway. Like I don't know,
I thought maybe they'd slide in
or whatever it was. It was like a turbo winch or something.
Yeah, very
but,
convenient.
yeah, again, because the writers needed a way for them to get out fast.
Yeah, they need to get out fast.
So, yeah, I don't know why they didn't just have like a sled that slid down. It seemed kind of crazy.
Right. I mean,
but again, it was the drama. But in a lot of these movies, every time you have any of these kind of killer alien or whatever, I always look at the time in how far it took them to get to the first person actually being killed or actually seeing the alien that's
Yeah.
It's like, well, even like Jaws, we didn't see the shark till like halfway
For a long time, yeah.
Sure.
They needed to touch weapons that they shouldn't touch. Like all that had to happen first.
Yeah.
Well, according to the director,
turn into a Rubik's Cube,
And according to the director, that's what they were aiming for, because both franchises had previously gone so long before you actually see anything happen. They wanted to do the same with this. Which I don't know that I agree with, but I appreciate the development that we see.
We'd already seen both creatures. Like we'd already seen them both, so like it
That's
wasn't
true.
It would have
gonna
been
be a
hard
surprise.
to throw it together and just have stuff happening right away because they needed some kind of platform to get the two together. And
There needed to be a
kind of
reason why they were all there at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just said, they could have started out with, oh, the Predators found a space station or whatever, and then they end up, whatever. They could have just jumped right into it and something like that was already infected and not had that they had this whole history of using them as hunting animals or whatever.
So let's talk about our strongest tie-in to Alien. No. Which one was Lance in? Lance was in Aliens.
Aliens,
yeah. Lance Henriksen. Good casting, smart casting, putting him in as Charles Wayland, or no? What do you guys think?
I thought it was an interesting choice. I mean, it was certainly. I think it was pretty much fan service.
I love him.
One could also make the argument that the Bishop in Aliens was the reason he looked like the Bishop of Charles Wayland was because that was all the same company and somebody decided to just make an android or whatever they were to look like the company's founder. I don't know. That's
like with Bill Gates someday. Suddenly we
have do we want a Bill Gates android running around?
AI robots walking around our house,
or Elon Musk or something? That's scary.
Personally good. You can keep mine.
Yeah.
It's like that movie. What was that movie with Will Smith with the robots? iRobot. It'd be that way they all have
they all have that
like a mannequin face.
That would be bad, yo.
Yeah, I don't really think it was a bad. I mean, we all like seeing little drops to nods and things to the other, so I didn't have a problem with it.
And I don't think it's. Sorry, I thought you were done. Sorry.
I'm done. No, go ahead.
I don't know if it was. I don't think that it was 100% a fan service thing. I did see an interview with the director saying that he did write the part hoping that Lance would take it. I do find that he has great chemistry with the lead actress, and I don't know if either of you noticed, but that is the mom from Blade. That is Blade's mama.
Oh, no, I didn't notice that.
Oh, is that Blade's mom?
Yep, the one that hooks up with Deacon Frost.
But now I got to Google things. You keep talking amongst yourselves. 1998 Blade.
I think she has great chemistry with Lance, and I think their conversation before everything kind of goes haywire when they're talking in the truck and she catches him coughing. I think that conversation does great. We get a personal story as to why Lex is so adverse to all the danger that comes with this expedition. We get to see that Wayland's not necessarily a bad guy. He's not trying to get them stuck in this big problem. He's dying and he's trying to live the best and the most of it. And through that 2-minute conversation, we get points to connect with both of them while we go down and we explore this thing. I think that for an action movie, I think that was a great, quick little here connect so that you care about these characters when they're in trouble later. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the movie has struggled. You're right. You're right. Lex and Lance Bishop, Charles Bishop Wayland,
Wayland.
they did have a really great conversation. That was like the one wonderful bit of acting in this movie. The rest of the movie were some fabulous character actors that were grossly underutilized. They had some great names in there, and they all just died. Bruce is asking if our little theory holds true. Where does Ash and all the others come from?
Well, I mean, doesn't mean that every single android they built
is going to look like
somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe Ash was like somebody's uncle or something. They said, "Hey, I'm going to make,
Yeah, he was like the CFO or the COO of the company.
That's full of milk."
The milk blood. Yeah, infamous.
That just made it grosser.
Although, speaking of great acting, as far as the action movie goes anyways, the chemical engineer, the tall, skinny white guy, he was very, like, in every scene. No matter if he had lines of dialogue or not, if you saw him on screen, he was in the moment. He was acting for it. Never once did I look at him and think that was an actor waiting for his next line. I thought he did fantastic.
I'm not sure which guy you're talking about.
The guy in the beginning when they're flying in the helicopter.
What language accent did he have? The guy in the beginning.
Oh God, accent. I don't do well with his accent.
They all had different accents. Ewan Bremer was rocking Scottish.
Tommy Flanagan, right? The Scottish guy with the scar.
No, I'm talking about the skinny scientist guy from the helicopter in the beginning of the movie that says, "Oh damn, I wish the pilot called out the PSR so I could take a picture of it." PSR just being the point of safe return.
Oh.
He's the guy that's always screaming about
Do you mean Ewan Bremer? Did he play Charlie in Wonder Woman?
I don't know. I haven't seen Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Who wasn't the nerdy guy, right? That's who you're talking about, right?
No,
Yeah,
not Colin Salmon, the really, really good looking tall black guy with the beautiful voice. Like his voice, you just
yeah, no, he's in a ton of stuff. No, I don't think
he's in everything.
He's generally not.
He gets cubed. He gets cubed with the net in this movie, and he also got cubed with the net in Resident Evil.
Yeah,
that's right. With the laser thing.
A lot of cubing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I was talking about the really nerdy science guy that was taking pictures of everything that said he could carbon date the pyramids.
Yeah, I don't have that close.
Round baby face or long skinny face?
Long skinny face.
Why don't you look
Ewan Bremer? That's Ewan Bremer.
The cast list, Alex, and find out.
It's Ewan Bremer. He's amazing. He's Scottish. He's in everything. He was in Trainspotting.
Pretty good in this. I mean, like I said, I mentioned Tommy Flanagan. You guys recognize him. He's probably he was in what was the Scottish one with Mel Gibson there? The one with the blue face. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, I can see his face, and now I can't think of the name.
And he's probably most recently, I think, probably known for Sons of Anarchy. He was one of the guys. But yeah, he shows up on all stuff, and the scar is legit. So it's not. I don't know what the reason he has the scar, but
make him seem more scary. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean he really has. No, it's the actor has the scar.
Okay.
It's not fake. So anyway, it doesn't matter. What else can we talk about this movie? So Alex, you're the one that really loves. So what is it about this film that you really? Because you were the one that.
Yes, I mean, first and foremost, I think the most obvious reason as to why I love it is because I'm the main character.
Are you now?
Well, at the very least, share a name.
How explain? You got to flesh that out a little bit.
My name being Alex, her name being Alex, both of us going by Lex. Same name.
Oh.
That was
anyhow. That was deeper than that. I thought it went deeper than that.
I thought you were going to say.
Well, that was the first thing that got me into it. When I was getting into AVP, or rather, when I was getting into Aliens and Predator both, I was sold to it by I'm the main character in one of them. So that's how I got into this
No,
whole
you
fandom.
secretly yearn to be a guide in the Arctic or the Antarctic.
Yeah, maybe that's what I thought.
I do actually. I am getting I'm getting a Predator tattoo very soon. Very thin lining of the Predator mask with the Scar marking on it for Scar in this film. I love the relationship between Lex and Scar. I love the physical acting. You can't really have many lines with the language barrier between them. So the physical acting of trust and understanding and respect, I think, is so beautiful. Obviously, it goes along with the rest of the Predator films that as soon as she's unarmed, Scar doesn't really attack her when he understands that Lex is trying to go with him and not necessarily attack him. You can see him evaluating, and he looks towards the xenomorph that she just kills, and you can see how much respect come from his team or his tribe or however you see these predators. You can see how much respect comes from them for killing the xenomorph. And the fact that he hands Lex her shield before he hands her the spear, I think it's just, I know it's an action movie. You don't want people reading so far into it, but I just really see that as a motion of care and respect. I would rather you be protected before you can attack. I think that's a beautiful small moment between them. And the fact that he gives her time to put Sebastian down when they find him in the nest. He gives her the time and respect for her to put down her last soldier. And from what it seems to his perspective, and again, I just think that's a great moment between the two of them. The fact that he lets her do it and still gets rid of the actual threat that she couldn't quite get. And the attitude he has when he kills the little chest burster and he just like scruffs his head at it before he tosses it away. I think that's so cute. I think it's very cheeky. I love their relationship. I was rooting for them since he handed her the head as a shield. At that point, I was like, all right, it's a buddy cop movie from here on out. These two are the people we're rooting for.
But it doesn't.
How come there wasn't like acid inside the head? That he just kind of, oh yeah.
Yeah, and now she's using that as a
I
shield.
guess I'll just put it on my arm. It's all right.
Yeah.
Didn't wash it off.
So it didn't take much for you to buy that. That's one of the biggest criticisms that critics have of the film, is that the relationship between Lex and what's his bucket, Scarface, there is very fast and sudden, and like, oh, they're teamed up now. Okay, they're teamed up now. All right, now we're
That doesn't
doing
really
this.
bother me. I mean, I think again, it's kind of was like, okay, there's nobody left. We're the only two. Everybody else is pretty much dead or going to die. We all know that. That's the pretty much every one person gets out, maybe two. But
like both of Scar's friends are killed.
It kind of bothered me a little bit. So clearly Scar knew he was infected.
Yeah, he had to have known
Had
it,
to know, right? And yet,
and he didn't.
you think with all their knowing of what the xenomorphs can do, I would have thought he would have offed himself.
And
Maybe
also,
he
notice
wanted
how
to-
long it took for him. Like
Yeah.
once he got infected, from the time
that
that
one took a
shot
long time to incubate
to
compared
his
the first
chest
one.
burster, that's a long
Maybe they
incubation.
incubate
Whereas
slower.
That is true.
mine was
But
like-
maybe it's because of the incubator's body. Maybe because it's a predator, it takes longer. We don't really know these things.
But I just
Then
You
why
could
did it
explain
take
it
so
any
long
which
for
way.
John Hurt?
because there was
There's
the whole
got to
thing where
be
you
some
saw the thing and
continuity.
you're like,
You can't
like,
just
you
make
never
it
see
whatever
it
time you
attached
need
to
it to
him.
be.
I mean, that's what I love about these ambiguous movies is that as long as you can make a string that makes sense to you, then why not? I mean, like you said, well, see, that's why you rely on me.
Your dream. Your dream makes perfect sense to you, but when other people hear it, they're like, okay.
That is true. Not everybody will agree. Not everybody will feel the same about this movie as I do, for sure.
Well, I mean, I don't know. What did we know how well this did? Did it did okay? I mean, it did well enough for them to make a second one.
It did well enough for them to make a second one.
It's
They
the better of the
still had a
two.
budget of $70 million. It grossed $177.4 million, and that unfortunately is a success. So we had to have more of this.
Yeah, I think
AVP Artifact is a very different conversation than AVP.
However, I am going to point out that it still only holds like a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, this thing is just not one of the stronger movies in the world on planet Earth. You know, I mean, when
That
they
is
don't
true.
come and we're like, here's our entertainment. I'm hoping this is one of the later ones we show them.
yeah, it's just kind of like if you don't really, I don't. It's like you can't tell Alex to shut her brain off and just watch a movie. That's
Yeah,
not
Sue
a
loves
thing.
you.
That's not a thing. But I'm just like, this is the kind of movie that you do that with. It's just like grab your popcorn, sit down, and watch the mayhem unfold, and just take it for what it is, and don't read too much into it. So I mean, I think there's a place for those type of films. I'm not saying that there isn't.
Oh yeah. And given
when you can sort of explain it and kind of connect the dots. Like I also enjoy the lore that we get of the Yautja, the predators, and this seeming like coming of age ritual, this blooding ritual they have with the xenomorphs. I think it's really cool to kind of learn about that, because in the first two Predator films, we don't really know a lot about the predators. We know more about the humans that they're hunting and the things that the humans are dealing with. But I really enjoyed that this was a monster movie. This was about our monsters. It wasn't really about the humans. We got a 2-minute conversation to connect you to two big guys in the movie and the adventure. But then after that, it was about the predators and what they were doing and how they were using xenomorphs. It was truly a creature feature, and I really enjoy that. I find this movie tried really hard to call upon The Mummy, Jurassic Park, and a lot of those adventure movies of that time. The score is very reminiscent of both Jurassic Park and The Mummy at times. We get imagery that's very close to Jurassic Park. We get the xenomorph reveals to look like raptor reveals, kind of. I think that's so cool. I love how much it kind of jumps on those. Those were my favorite kinds of movies. It just kind of feels like that early 2000s, 20th Century Fox kind of popcorn movie. I love it.
Did you notice that in the sacrificial chamber that the sacrifices were laid out in the same arrangement as the odds and Alien?
Yeah,
pretty cool.
That was a clever little twist, and I think most people may not have caught that.
Yeah.
But I thought that was kind of interesting. I did kind of notice it after the fact. I was like, oh, wait a minute, that looks familiar. Why does that look familiar?
Yeah.
So
Sue is saying she loves your analysis, and she says it's really fun and interesting to hear you talk about movies. It clearly demonstrates your love of the movies. Speaking of Jurassic Park, they were particularly proud of their Alien Queen animatronic puppet. It was massive for the day, and it had every review or every making of I watched had to say this fact. It had twice as many moving parts as the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. They were really proud of that. It took like 6 guys to operate the thing. And you know what? It looked really, really good. So this movie was a combination. There was a little bit of CGI, and anywhere they could, they used practical effects. I'm going to give them mad props for using practical effects. They looked good. The practical stuff looked good. The CGI,
well,
but the
practical stuff because CGI had come a long way by this time. I mean, so
it's true, yeah.
But I think it's always, again, I think it's just like practical effects. How much money do you want to throw at it? And I think the less money, you're going to notice it. You know,
although some of the you get a chance to see the behind the scenes stuff, it'll take you out so fast. There's one guy dressed as an alien, and he did his bit, and there was smoke going. And when it was done, when they called cut, he had to cough. And so when he's in this massive alien, and then he's got the head, the big long head. And when he coughed, the whole head would and it just took me right out of it. It was so cute. If you get a chance to see any of the behind the scenes stuff, it's hilarious. And then another guy was whipping an alien's tail like back and forth. He's off camera and he's whipping the tail so you can see it. And he ended up like smacking the other crew members. It just looked like they had so much fun making this thing, which is you know what? That's half the battle in movie making. So
I really feel like they use different materials for the Predator costuming, because the amount of physical character acting that they were able to do with all of that stuff on them. The dreads, for one, seemed quite a bit lighter. I don't know if you noticed in all of the head turns of the Yautja, but their hair was quite on fleek, as the kids say, and it just looked beautiful.
Yeah, both Predators and Aliens have evolved a bit over the years.
Yeah,
and there are YouTube videos out there if you guys want to check it out. Just showing kind of how there's not only they change from movie to movie, but they have the hierarchy, like the hierarchy of Predators and the hierarchy of Aliens, and those of all their design has all changed a bit over the years. And as we get new materials to build these things with and new ideas,
very much so.
Yeah. I was going to put up that link for if you guys want to check out the Alien Earth TV show trailer. Let me put that link up right now.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how they're going to work that without completely
I mean, is it going to be like how Waylon met Yutani? Like, what is it going to be?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer, so I can't even speak to that. If it doesn't even give you,
it's in that article. Just scroll to the bottom.
The insight into it. One of the interesting things is Ridley Scott was not a fan of this film,
but James Cameron was.
Yes, James Cameron places it as his third favorite Aliens film.
Favorite Alien movie.
Yeah, Ridley Scott kind of thought it was a money grab, and he's not wrong. I mean, they all are.
He was
though.
just mad that people were building on
my work.
And the other little notable thing is that Arnold had said, "Yeah, you know what? I'll do a cameo if I lose this election." And alas, he won his election and became the governor.
He did.
Of California.
Yeah, they were actually
no cameo
in this film as Dutch again.
Waylon met Yutani. It was murder.
Yeah,
that's funny.
At least Dutch not being in it gives fans who didn't like this movie a way out, and they can say that it's just not canon. It's a different universe or whatever they want to say, that they can avoid this movie. I don't want fandom fights. So I'm happy that we don't have Dutch as a third line to say that it's the same universe.
Too late. This particular AVP has spurned some of the greatest fandom fights. It's canon. It's not canon. It's this. It's not this.
This is what nerds do, though.
This is the ultimate argument movie, I think.
I absolutely agree. And considering the premise that they were going off of, I think they pretty well delivered. Like, I know that it takes 45 minutes for us to see any predators or aliens, but when we do see them, the fights are relentless. The action is quite wild.
And there were a couple really cool moments. The predator ship flying over them silently. I loved that. And then the shot of the facehugger hitting slow-mo, that was kind of fun. I mean, I don't know if we needed it or not, but it was fun to see like him hit slow-mo.
That was a great starting point. That was when you knew shit was really hitting the fan. And you could tell whether like the camera direction does the slow-mo kind of the way that your body would do in an adrenaline rush. The score beautifully undercuts the moment and pulls you into the next scene. Another thing I loved about this movie was the transition from scene to scene. We had so many different ways of transitioning, so many different ways of forced perspective to bring you into the next scene. It really made the movie feel a lot more fast-paced than it actually was if you were to map it out. Yeah. So I think that's brilliant direction, at least in editing styles.
Well, speaking of editing, here is what I actually think hurt this movie. They worked to have it have a PG-13 rating, and I think that was a mistake. Aliens is an R-rated movie. Predator was an R. It was, yes. Predator was an R-rated movie. These are R-rated creatures. They kill you in R-rated fashion. Let's just go ahead and let them fight R-rated.
Actually,
yeah. They were trying to, again, I don't know if there was probably toys associated with it. There always is. And, they want to try to hit that little bit, get a piece of that tween market. Although it's kind of funny because
only the kids are reading the comic.
Parents never care these days.
Yeah, it's true.
But I completely disagree with the. I think they should have let it be an R-rated movie and whatever they cut or however the choices they made.
Or was it? Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong movie. Maybe it was the wrong movie. I thought there was an unedited version or something.
There is a director's cut. I think it has one extra blood splatter. That's about it.
I thought I saw the unedited or unrated version or something.
Unrated,
But like when Lance dies and you see the shot, he's thrown back on the ground and you see the shot from his head, that's CGI blood. Like, what? Why these choices? I want to talk to the director and the editor and the producers and why these choices?
Money, probably.
Yeah, I would agree. But there are rumors of another.
They realized they screwed up and they couldn't use a practical effect and they had to add it in after the fact. It was that fix it in post because we goofed and missed that shot.
That's true. That could have been an issue.
That happens more often than you think.
But Mary Beth, I have heard that there are rumors of another Alien versus Predator movie. So hopefully, with the success sorry, I don't know if it's a reboot or a new story yet. I've just heard rumors of them revisiting, having a third kind of installment. Whether that's a soft reboot or not, I'm not
Here's the
sure.
Here's the thing, Alex. There absolutely is a market for more Alien versus Predator. Just
Absolutely.
recently, really recently, they just released in the comic world Predator versus Wolverine and then Alien versus the Avengers. So I believe there's more to the story to explore, and I absolutely believe there's an audience for it. So
Oh,
Wolverine,
absolutely.
you know
yeah,
Wolverine's gonna
bring
kick
it
that-
on. Everyone loves
Wolverine's
a
gonna
good cash
win
grab.
all day.
I'm really hopeful that with the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, we really do blow this kind of negative stigma to R-rated movies and the fact that they do make a very big success. I know that Deadpool and Wolverine isn't the first R-rated movie to have a lot of success. But even still, I'm just hoping that with everything that we've had this summer, that we can actualize the potential of an R-rated market.
Well, I
Especially
think
for
there always
AMC.
has been. I think with superhero movies, they've been trying to not hit that R-rated mark because they know there's a huge percentage of their audience that is are children.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's why they're always afraid. But I think there's always been a huge market for R-rated movies. I think it was more.
Absolutely.
I think in the 70s, because even Jaws was rated, I think PG, wasn't it? If I remember back in the day, that was
Hang on, let me look up real quick.
so R-rated movies back then were more rare than they are today.
Jaws was yes, Rizzo,
Like,
you're right. Jaws was PG.
Yeah.
It was
So,
plenty
I
scary
mean-
for PG. But see, this doesn't have that same level of
well, you can't compare the two. I mean,
Tension.
it's too much time passed, too much technology has passed. And I've said many times on this show, the audiences have become number and number to
that's true.
just
There's always
don't
little
react.
children out there. You don't want
We don't react as viscerally as we did, and back in older movies. It's just because we've been bombarded with such graphic imagery now that we're just kind of like, oh yeah, that guy got his whole head ripped off, and his brains fell out, and his eyes shot across the room. That's cool.
I know, yeah, you're right.
No,
You're
we
right.
don't
We
like
watched The
thinking,
Boys and we
showed
don't
that
even
back in the 70s, people would be like, oh my god, they were like,
Yeah.
people would lose
if
their
we
mind.
took an episode of The Boys and like showed it to my
Oh my
parents
God,
when they were
imagine.
newlyweds,
Yeah. Could you imagine? My mother would be like,
my
comatose.
mother would be traumatized, and she was a nurse.
There's no way. There's no way. And even I'm like, and Boys is a good example because every season
They're
I go,
particularly, yeah.
every season I go, okay, how are they going to absolutely go farther than they did the week? And yet they're always like, hold my beer.
And they
And they do
find
it.
a way.
And every year I go, they did it again. They pushed it up another notch.
Yep.
See, I just wish AVP would take that energy and run with it. That would be amazing. I would love to see them push the envelope with AVP.
I don't really mind seeing like the death is kind of off screen and it's like not implied, but like even if it's just like the shadow of it or something like that. Like I don't really necessarily need to see somebody disemboweled to know that they died horribly. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
we know what these creatures do.
Yeah.
That
So
is true.
I think
I
sometimes
just look forward to it.
the imagination can be better than the reality in some aspects.
Very
So-
much so. There's different directions you can take with an R rating. You have less kind of inhibiting you from doing more and being that like fantastic at pushing the envelope and being able to really subvert expectations. Another common complaint I see about this movie is the very telling jump scares and when they're going to come, because it does follow a specific formula, which is a valid complaint. But within our rating, you can really subvert those expectations and not do the telling one where you know it's not the jump scare you're waiting for.
I'm
This is
curious.
not the jump
You
scare.
know, Robin says, I feel like Jaws would have been R-rated in modern day, thanks to the blood fountain of Alex Kittner. I'm honestly going to disagree because I think they were way more sensitive back in 1975 about graphic and whether it pushed it into that R rating than it was now. When we see what they will allow in a PG or PG-13, of course, PG-13 did come out to the mid 80s. With basically it was Raiders of the not Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom that drove the PG-13 rating because of the chilled monkey brains and the bugs and everything else, and they felt that was too intense for viewers to be but they didn't feel it was warranted the R rating.
First,
So.
just so you guys, if you're curious, the very, very first PG-13 movie ever was Red Dawn.
The first what now?
PG-13 movie.
Yeah, it came out, but it was because of Temple of Doom. That's what kind
Was
of.
it? What year was Temple of Doom? Red Dawn was 1984. What year was Temple of Doom?
Well, see, what Raiders was 1980. So
1984, same year. So yeah, same year.
Yeah, but I think it was that's when they said, okay, this one, because it wasn't. I don't think Raiders. I think I keep saying Raiders. Temple of Doom, I think, was originally PG. Anyway, chilled monkey brains. That's what got you there.
That'll happen.
That'll happen.
That'll happen.
So,
but
yeah, I mean,
Clue talks about monkeys' brains, and they were still whatever. That's so funny. Is that what we ate? Of a monkey tail soup, though popular in wherever.
Okay.
We did Clue. We did Clue on this show.
I know. That was a great movie, and that was a Halloween one, by the way, Alex. You were asking about Halloween movies.
Yes, we did.
We're running out of stuff.
I was going to say, I was asking about the Halloween movies you have yet to do, not the ones you've already done.
I know. I don't know. We'll have to think about what you guys, as we were talking, we're off topic, but what the hell? We are thinking about October, and we always, as you know, we always do at least 3 or 4 Halloween type sci-fi horror movies, and then of course we always do the final one with Roy and Ross on their.
And we do it in costume, which is my
costume. So maybe we'll change it up. Maybe we'll get them to come on our show and do it. I don't know. So, but Roy usually tortures us with something horrible.
Yes.
And I don't mean scary. I mean just bad.
I mean bad. Yeah. Like the year we had to do the children's show.
That's his Halloween prank on us. That's the trick.
Yeah.
The Halloween
it's a bad movie for you guys to watch, and then we talk about it for 2 hours.
We coordinate with our costumes. So last year we were from Dodgeball, and then one year we were both. I was Leia, and you were the pilot, right?
What's that? I'm sorry, I was reading.
We coordinate our costumes so that we're,
Yes, we usually do try to coordinate our costumes. We did Dodgeball last year. So I don't know. Yeah, what did we do the year before that? I don't remember.
Princess, I was Leia, and you were just the pilot.
Oh, right, X-Wing thing. Yeah. Did I? Yeah.
We do have a comment saying before we completely lose AVP, Grid is the first identifiable normal Xeno. By that, I think Robin means the first one born of the
It had the imprint of the net on its head.
Yes, lovingly called Grid.
Lovingly called Grid. There you go. So.
Also, fan theory, I think Grid is the xenomorph that pops out of Russo in the beginning. She's the first one with the face hugger. I don't know, their attitudes, like they both have shit kicker attitudes to me. I find their kind of smart assness in a way is very similar.
When Ewan Bremer is stuck and he sees one coming up and he's firing at it, and then he realizes they're all hatching, and that's a Gracie. What happens to all? He dies or he gets one face hugger. What happens to all those other face huggers? They just sit there and wiggle and wait until a human walks by? Like, what? How does that work?
We don't really get confirmation on how long a face hugger lives or what it's impervious to for how long, if it's not able to hatch, if it's not able to face hug.
Yeah, I mean, because they kind of implied that, I guess they only hatch when they feel there's heat or something around that. Because obviously the ones in Alien were sitting there for a very long time waiting. There was no queen there that we're aware of.
But now these have all actually hatched.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the ones that actually hatched, I mean, I don't know. Nobody knows because nobody's written that part of it. But I assume Robin's thinking they go back in the egg. I think they just eventually die off. Once they're out of the egg,
but the egg would remain open. I don't think they can. Yeah. I don't think they can mend their egg closed again.
No, I mean, that's again. That is for a writer in another movie to, the story of the lonely. It's like a kid's book. The lonely.
That is true.
Lonely face
hugger. Lonely face hugger. The little ugly face hugger had no friends, and he had to go back into the egg.
All the other face huggers found a face to hug, but not the one last face hugger. He had no face to hug. Who would love the little face hugger?
You guys would be great parents. Michael, pass on my
I am a
condolences to
parent. What do
Sam.
you mean?
Pass along my condolences to Sam.
Oh, come on. He's a great kid. I did good with that one.
Liz did great with that one, yeah.
Oh, let's see how it is. Oh, that's right. I wasn't here. I was
Face hugger who could. Yeah.
DNA donor.
You were off writing traumatizing kid stories, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. My kid likes sci-fi because of me.
That is true. You did bring another sci-fi lover into the world.
I did,
world, yeah.
so that's it. So,
There's your dad pat. I'll get you that next time I see you.
no love. No love.
Make sure I'm a sci-fi fan.
Anyway,
But I
so
guess
we're getting near the end of the hour. I want to start kind of wrapping things up. So is there anything that on kind of directing this at Alex that we
I have
haven't
two things.
that you want to
Two things. The one thing for AVP, if you see it as canon, then what it does provide for us on the xenomorph side is the life cycle of a queen. Because the predators that we see, Chopper, Celtic, and Scar, they didn't bring the queen into the pyramid. The queen was already in the pyramid.
Yeah, frozen.
And the Yautja only come once every 100 years. So that queen is at the very least 100 years old, if not more. Probably more, I would say. But it does give us more of a light as to how old they are.
Frozen.
She was frozen. That is true.
So wait, she was laying eggs. Were they on a conveyor belt? I'm guessing that's to get disseminated throughout various parts of the pyramid, so that as hunters walk through, you never know you could stumble on one. So again, I go back to my little. What happens when you're a face hugger and you don't have a face to hug? It's just
it happens to them, but they do get hatched onto like a stone conveyor circle thing that brings them out to that nesting, the sacrificial chamber.
They're like unfertilized eggs. They're wasted.
Not when the Yautja look at them through their special vision.
That is true. They're moving around in there.
Well, they're alive, but I mean, they're treated like unfertilized eggs. In other words, they just eventually die off. They're just part of the life cycle. And if they don't complete that, just like sperm going in, the ones that don't make the thing, that's
clearly last a long time, because in other movies, in this movie and in other movies, you wander up on them hundreds of years later.
Obviously, once in the egg, they're like hard boiled. They're preserved very long time. They can hang out in a hibernative state.
It seems like maybe they should just stay in that state because they stay a long time. Once they're
I think they sense the heat or something of something living that they can impregnate. And
Alien, get your continuity straight, will you please? Franchise?
I don't really think it's
Predator squared away. You people, alien people, you need to get squared away.
Confusing than it needs to be.
I mean, hopefully Alien Earth confirms some of these things and verifies them.
I'm very curious.
Which is what most
it's going to be a lot of boring, isn't it? I can just tell it's going to be a bunch of...
It's going to be a lot of talking. That's the problem with all these new shows, whether it's Rings of Power or Dragon, whatever the hell the Dragon one is.
A lot of verbal exposition.
All they do is talk.
No action.
Cheap. Talking is a lot cheaper than action.
You know where else you just talk with no action? In a podcast. That brings me to my second point.
That's true. And look, we have a whole 10 viewers, so there you go.
They're listening to us.
We have less viewers than the Acolyte. But it doesn't cost $180 million to put our show on. But if anybody wants to pay $180 million, I'm more than willing to piss it away.
Well, I don't have that, but I do have about half a minute. So I am going to say that the intro to AVP was very cleverly done. The Morse code that you hear at the beginning actually spells out whoever loses or whoever wins, we lose, which is the tagline of the movie in and of itself. And the shot of the satellite looking like the Queen Xenomorph until you actually get some light on I think it's a satellite or a space station at the beginning. It's the ship. No, it's a Weyland-Yutani satellite. Help me out, guys.
I think just Weyland satellite at that point. There's no Yutani yet. That's
right.
why I'm thinking Weyland Earth is going to be how Weyland met Yutani. The tag, the little premise is when a mysterious space vessel crash lands on Earth, a young woman and a ragtag group of tactical soldiers make a fateful discovery that puts them face to face with the planet's greatest threat. Okay.
And they
Very
basically had to nuke it from underground. It's the only way to be sure.
Mostly, anyways.
I mean, it's really the only way to deal with xenomorphs is you have to just obliterate them all at once and hope nothing.
Pretty much was exactly what the Predators were doing. When he got overrun, he was like, beep, beep,
Yep.
beep, beep.
Yep. At least they have they know enough to kill themselves. And so anyway, all right. It is pretty much 8:00. What
It
Roy's
is.
off this week because
Yes,
he's
Roy's
headed
off
to
because he's off
London.
to London. And
Italy.
Phil, what does Phil have? I literally was just looking at Phil is going to talk to a progressive rock band called Izz at 4 tomorrow, and he'll be playing tracks from their new album, Collapse the Wave. That's tomorrow on Captain Phil's Planet on WUSB Stony Brook. Rizzo, we're doing From the Earth to the Moon. Is
Are
that
we
what
going
we're
to
doing?
finish it by then?
Yeah, I can finish that.
So we're going to do, this one I want to do. 1998 HBO miniseries From the Earth to the Moon, which is, for those who don't know, is a great series. Basically, it's a docudrama on the Apollo program.
And it's 12 episodes. If you only watch one, may I recommend the Albine episode? It's a great
right,
episode.
and that one is called "Is This All There Is?"
Is this all there is? Yeah.
And the other one, my favorite, is Spider, which is the development of the lunar
Yeah.
module.
And if you're into,
only
because
watch
it's Tom Hanks, and if you enjoyed Apollo 13, you might
You
enjoy
enjoy
the
Apollo
episode
13.
called "We Interrupt This Program," because that's the Apollo 13.
But it's 12 episodes. It's on HBO Max. Just a great series, and I don't know why it hasn't gotten a Blu-ray edition. It needs to have one, just because the music alone gets you right in the
It's
beginning.
great, yeah. The cast,
Very patriotic.
brilliant cast.
Yes, and it's a great cast. It's well written. Like I said, it definitely was born right out of Apollo 13 and that popularity of that movie. So, on that note, I guess we can say good night, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Alex, for joining us again. I'm sure when we
What's up with us?
we
She barely tolerates us.
Predator or Alien, or the Xenomorph, I should say, we will definitely probably have you back.
Definitely, probably sounds good to me.
Is she our resident in-house alien expert now?
Yeah, well, I guess.
Oh, my partner's going to be so proud. Did you hear that, Robin? I'm the expert now.
I'll never claim to be an alien expert.
No, I did.
All right. On that note, we will say goodnight. As always, live long and prosper, and may the force be with you always.